Hello, everyone.
I'm Melina.
And I'm Aditi. Welcome to an episode of
Yakkin about Bojack.
Yes, welcome. Melina, what did you think about this episode?
We had a big wedding. Totally not expected.
Yeah.
Actually, this whole episode was not expected at all.
I was asking questions about the wedding. Do you know why now?
I thought you just wanted to know, my thoughts about the wedding in general. I wasn't expecting an actual wedding.
That's fair. I also just really love asking about weddings. So, you could have just been like me being nosy.
I guess. Well, okay, this is making me now think about all your other questions, possibly leading questions.
No, don't read into the questions, Melina. It's a wrong trademark. Don't think about it. Just go into it. Stop thinking.
If you say so. Okay, there.
Yeah, before we get into it any further, we should probably do a summary. So let's get into that. This episode picks up exactly where episode 8 left off. They're driving back from Malibu, and that uncomfortable drive back from Malibu after Bojack's kiss attempt forces Diane to bail and walk home. Bojack is convinced he must do whatever it takes to stop Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter's wedding. His attempts backfire and accelerate their wedding to the upcoming weekend. Todd discovers that Bojack meddled to ruin his rock opera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I forgot to mention this also came out just like the rest of season 1, all at the same time, August 22nd, 2014. And the title is Horse Majeure, which I believe is a pun of force majeure. Force majeure means a superior irresistible force, and it is also can mean an effect or an event that cannot reasonably be anticipated or controlled, an act of God.
Sounds like fate.
Yeah, I guess it sounds like fate. Kind of, in some ways, the fact that Mr. Peanut Butter and Diane, they got married despite all the obstacles Bojack attempted to throw in their way, could be considered also a force majeure.
Although, to be fair, his attempts weren't very great, in my opinion.
They weren't superior or irresistible force. I could have also said, because, the pun is horse majeure. So there's a way I was thinking about it as Bojack, but as you mentioned, his obstacles weren't the greatest.
And then his attempts to just throw Todd, first of all, he tried to throw Todd in there to have him do all the dirty work.
Yes. But, is that surprising? Bojack never wants to do the dirty work. He just forces poor Todd to do it.
I guess. Although this time, Todd got something good out of it.
Yes.
Actually, Todd always gets something good out of every single one. Well, most of his attempts.
I feel like I should live life more as Todd. He's going with the flow. Yes. He doesn't let things bring him down. And it seems like when you go with the flow and you seize the day, you really carpe diem life. Mm-hmm. He seems to get something good out of it every time.
And Todd does that by doing whatever he wants, despite
not just whatever he wants, but he seizes opportunities. He becomes the driver. He takes every day as being the driver. Then he ends up becoming part of Mr. Peanut Butter. First of all, seems like a way better friend than Bojack.
Yeah, Mr. Peanut Butter. When Mr. Peanut Butter gave him the job and was so chill, other than when he's trying to chase the mailman. But I'm just Todd, you should just leave Bojack. The mailman,
hilarious.
And just chasing the sticks, yes.
Oh my goodness. Mr. Peanut Butter actually seems too much like a dog sometimes, though. There's also the scene where him and Diane are talking about their perfect Sunday post-marriage, and he's going to fetch her the paper and slippers. And I'm like, is he a dog or a person? This line is so blurry. I'm so confused.
But maybe it's saying that who needs to marry a person when you can marry a dog?
Melina, I think that's called bestiality. Please do not. We do not condone bestiality. That is a stance as a podcast.
All the furries out there will be so sad.
Oh my god! Wow. This is basically a show about helping furries find a place, I guess, right? Yes. So maybe whatever. That's the audience of the show, so it's fine. Still, remember the keynote. We are a podcast against bestiality because right now, half humanoid or humanoid animals don't exist. So please don't do anything. Don't assault your pets. They just want to make sure it's very explicit.
Yes, please don't assault your dog or cat. That would be concerning.
All pets. Melina, why are you putting the lives of dogs and cats above other animals? That is classist. That is animalist. I'm so disappointed in you.
I guess I'm an animalist then.
Anyway, sorry, we're getting off track here. What was the point was Mr. Peanut Butter's clearly way too much of a dog.
Or is trying to exemplify his loyalty and how much
He
of
is.
a good partner he can be.
Yes. What a good partner. He's very loyal. And he's even loyal to Todd, as we were talking about. Like, he actually gives Todd, like, a title. He gives him a business card. He's trying to sort of uplift and help his friends around him. Whereas Bojack, you know, as Todd finds out this episode, sabotages him.
But yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Like, where do you want to start?
I want to start with the scene on their drive back from Malibu. In that scene, it was uncomfortable. I also felt really bad for Diane. So I did say in a previous episode, so I will eat my words, listeners. I told Bojack to shoot a shot, and I do believe he should shoot your shot. There is this awkward line where everyone that Bojack shoots a shot with or dates in some way somehow ends up being not everyone, but he works with them all, and that can lead to a really uncomfortable workplace environment. Especially in the situation with Diane and Bojack, I could argue that there is a slight imbalance of power because Diane is writing his book. She also has a lot of vulnerable information about him as well. So there's this sort of like double-edged sword where I feel like maybe Diane was really bad for that reason as well. And he should have waited till after the book came out, and then maybe if she was already married to Mr. Peanut Butter, that was fine. Like, that is his thing. But I think that because the book is still in flight, it was inappropriate. And Diane felt so uncomfortable. And I don't think Bojack apologized or said they didn't actually reconcile or discuss it. And I feel like that was kind of a borderline workplace harassment.
I guess, like, whenever I think of workplace harassment, I think of an actual, like, company. I forget, like, they are technically in a working relationship.
Yes, because she's technically his memoir writer, right?
Although I also feel that he, like, that's not how you start a relationship with someone. Yeah. in general, like,
yeah. As mentioned, I think in an earlier episode, use your words. I think the words are even when Herb went in for like a little smooch, you know, I support her for shooting a shot, but you still got to use your words first.
Yeah, well, even in this case, there didn't need to be words said because she was already in a relationship and bound to be married in the next 2 weeks, which got accelerated.
Yeah, she said 1 year, but he only knew about the 1 year after. Like, she hadn't talked about their wedding plans till that point.
And then he tried to stop it. He did everything he could to stop it.
For Bojack, that means hiring Margot Martindale.
When she showed up again, I was like, you were that person that was in Todd's rock opera episode.
Yes.
And then there was a connection in this episode.
Yeah. Keep an eye out, Melina, for more callbacks. This show is really good at being internally consistent. It's really satisfying as a viewer to see people again that, you know, we'd seen before. But it's also really satisfying because it's like little seeds get planted a lot, and that yield is just really great. That return is really fun and it's satisfying.
Okay, so I'll probably then see Wayne again and see Sarah Lynn again. And Wayne's probably gonna do a better.
Do I unintentionally spoil Melina? Listeners, you can complain to me on our social media accounts about how I'm doing this. I'm trying really hard, but I feel like every time I point out to Melina the questions or certain things, am I leading the horse to water? Pardon my pun, but not really.
I'm definitely not a Bojack horseman. That'd be really concerning if I am.
No, you're that's the biggest insult. We already agreed. But yeah, I think that Todd was really, like, he really lucked out with Mr. Peanut Butter. I think he was a better friend than Bojack ever was. And him standing up to Bojack this episode.
Yeah, that was intense. I did not think he'd be able to do something like that.
To me, that's character growth from Todd. Would you have expected that from him?
No, I think it's both character growth and also just everything that's like been happening over the years. Oh, I don't know years, but at least throughout the episodes, like everything that's just how Bojack's treating him like not greatly, and then in contrast, like then he sees like, oh, what's it like to be treated well by Mr. Peanut Butter, or oh, what's like to get jobs by Princess Carolyn.
He's been having more interaction with the external people who are not Bojack, and they treat him way better. Like, okay, Princess Carolyn did bail on him, and he went to jail. So that's they're not Mr. Peanut Butter nice.
Okay, yes. No, I don't think anyone can reach up to Mr. Peanut Butter level.
Yeah, he just seems really nice. So definitely, like, he's treating him like an actual person, giving him respect, even though Todd didn't even actually properly apply or give a resume for the job.
Yeah, and then broke into his home.
Yes, and broke his table. Mr. Peanut Butter is way too nice, way too nice. But yeah, what did you think about that episode where Todd was figuring out how Bojack betrayed him?
Yeah, I don't know how his rambling came to be like figure out that of the betrayal. Like I was just listening and I'm like, where is this going? All of a sudden, his last sentence was, "And he betrayed me," and I'm like, how'd you get that from all, all your thoughts?
Like, it's true. But
it's
how?
true.
I think my favorite part of that was the strings on the wall. Like, I always am like, anytime I see that, it makes me laugh so hard. Like, if you're gonna do a conspiracy theory scene, you need to have that. That is my favorite part. It's like, oh, it looks like I'm doing it makes it feel like you're a real detective, you know? That's how you know you're really investigating something. If you don't have strings up on your wall and push pins, what are you doing?
Doesn't matter what your thought process is. Doesn't matter what you're saying. As long as there's strings, it's legitimate. As long as there's
Exactly. That's how
pictures.
Todd figured it out, Melina, right?
Yes. And then he got angry, rightfully so.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I'm curious to see like what's gonna happen afterwards with him. Like, he still hasn't actually like he tried to confront Bojack.
Yes.
But then Bojack was like, "Oh, I gotta go jury duty. Bye." And
Yeah.
then like, so he didn't get a chance to address it again. He did say at the
Yes.
end though, like when there was Bojack was trying to run to the actual wedding between Mr. Peanut
Yes.
Butter and Diane, like he did like Todd did say like, "Yo, don't try to interrupt. Like you can't do anything. Let them be." And that's when Bojack
Yes.
was kind of like, "Okay, I finally give up."
I think that that's good, but do you think that this is the end of Todd and Bojack's friendship?
I don't think so. I feel that Todd's a very resilient person. Like as we've seen throughout the show, like he's had a lot of crazy things happen. He's went to jail.
Yes.
He's I don't know, got drunk on a set. He got his rock opera like ruined, but he still bounces back. I think that it definitely takes a lot for a person, especially if they're betrayed time and again. It takes a lot for them
Yes.
to. I don't know if he forgives Bojack each time, but more so like is still willing to be in their life and still willing to trust them with
Yes.
things. Maybe Todd's the best friend, the greatest friend, even maybe above Mr. Peanut Butter.
Maybe you're right. He is very in that sense. He's very fiercely loyal in a way that Mr. Peanut Butter is not. Right. I don't know. Mr. Peanut. We haven't seen him being betrayed multiple times, but we do know he's been married multiple times now.
Yeah, that's random.
Why? Why do you think that's random?
I mean, I guess I wasn't expecting it. I just thought that this was like his first marriage kind of thing, and then it was never brought up before. And then actually, that brings me to like there was a talk between Mr. Peanut Butter and Todd, like in the back alley somewhere.
Yes.
Where Mr. Peanut Butter was saying like he was getting cold feet. He wasn't sure about the wedding. He sometimes imagines like Diane's not there and he'd be happy. Now that was just like, ooh, you're now becoming 3D. You're having a personality.
Yeah.
That's more than a dog.
Yes, that's more than just mailman, paper, fetch your slippers, be my best friend, ha ha ha. Yeah. He has his own concerns, right? At that time, did you think that Bojack should have interrupted their wedding? Like when he was coming, were you happy that Todd stopped Bojack? Or, knowing that Mr. Peanut Butter had cold feet?
I think it's normal for people to have cold feet. Like if they're gonna go into a lifetime relationship with another person.
Yeah, that's what Melina classifies a marriage as. It's a lifetime relationship. You get a lifetime award. Immediately after you get that's part of the marriage certificate. You get like a lifetime award, and if you get divorced, they take away that award. They're like, no. Sorry. That's what happens, right?
I guess so. I mean, why else do you marry? Because you love the person? Like, what is that?
Ridiculous. I want that. I want that trophy, Melina. There is a space in my wall for a lifetime marriage, a lifetime relationship. Sorry, award.
But then that also comes to the question of Mr. Peanut Butter and Diane's wedding. Like, do you think that should? I know. So Bojack did not manage to stop it. But do you think they should have gotten married?
So, controversial opinion. I think that because they're two consenting adults, even though they have their own doubts and you know, my opinion has changed because when I watched the show before, Melina, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're two consenting adults and they made this decision, and whether or not it's right or wrong for them is something only they can make for themselves. Like,
Mm.
I can speculate there's going to be problems in a relationship, and we can discuss some of those problems. I 100% want to, but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately the person who figures out whether or not it's right or wrong is the people in the relationship, and you have to put in work to make any relationship work.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're willing to put in the work, it will make sense. And you pointed this out before, like you didn't see them getting married unless Mr. Peanut Butter grew, and you saw some three-dimensional depth to him. But uh, like, do you think he's grown in the week since you said that?
I think there was some growth that must have happened off screen. I don't know if
Hmm.
it's like a lot of growth. So like the fact that he even caught off the huge reception or something that they were gonna have,
Yeah,
like that to me was surprising because before he was all about having big events, like
yeah.
when he was
Their engagement was
proposing.
on reality TV.
Yeah, yeah. So the fact that he called it off, to me, I'm like, okay, something, there is some character growth that must have happened, unless like
Yeah.
this is all a ploy and he definitely is
Yes.
gonna have everything on like hidden cameras somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still think we need to see more, just because we finally do see some of his concerns in this episode. So I want to know more about like him as a person.
So I don't know if this is a spoiler. When I first watched the show, I was really upset that they got married.
Ah.
I was really upset because I saw that, to me, in the early parts, Diane doesn't want to plan the wedding and she
Mhm.
doesn't want to registry. And to me, I saw that as Diane not being sure about this.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And then I was like, if she's not sure about this, like Bojack, and I said this before, I thought Bojack and Diane should be together. I think that less so now because I see
Mhm.
the problems that we've discussed in previous episodes with them. And I think that that's because my brain, I've watched so many rom-coms that my brain is sort of hardwired for, there has to be a happily ever after romance. And if it's not Mr. Peanut Butter and she has doubts, then my mind's like, hey, a
Mm.
rom-com tells me the plot is she's got to be with Bojack. Even though that relationship has problems, that's the plot of a rom-com. That's a plot that I'm used to. That's the story that I'm thinking in my head. And I realized that life isn't like that, and this show is really
Mhm.
about, I think, showing you what life's like, and there's going to be doubts in your relationship, there's going to be things you question about, but you don't know the future. You just know what's now, and this is a relationship they're in. They both want to make this work, even though they have doubts, as you mentioned, right? People have cold feet.
Mhm.
So should they have gotten married? They want to get married, they should get married. That is my statement now. And Diane did suggest Saturday. She was the one who asked to bring it up
Mhm.
from a month to that week.
Yeah, she did. Although, like, part of me does wonder if she accelerated it because of what BoJack was like. I feel like she's trying to latch onto something that she can control.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, like, if her decision was really because she actually wanted to accelerate it, or because of like these
Oh, because
other
she wanted
external
to sort of
forces.
ignore any feelings that might be developing for Bojack. I definitely think that made probably incentivized her.
Mhm.
100%. I d- so like the reason I'm sort of in this place is like I think that 100% incentivizer. It's not always the right motivations, but I
Mhm.
still think if you want to stay married to someone and you want to be
Mhm.
married to someone and you put in that effort and work,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad decision. Now, I'm not telling anybody to just like
Mhm.
jump the gun and get married, but I do think that um not that is like the decision is like one day, but like staying married is like a continuing
Yeah.
ongoing sort of decision they have to make and work they have to put into. And I think that's really what tells me how that works. And even if it doesn't work or it does work, it's really about it was right for them now, and it's also
Mhm.
about growth as a person and learning about that even if they grow apart.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think that they both seem like they would be like they are interested in each other.
Yeah,
Like,
they've been dating for how
yeah.
long? Does it tell us in the show how long they've been dating before they got engaged?
I don't think so.
I feel like it's 2 years, but I don't know why I think it's 2 years.
Okay. Well, regardless, I guess it doesn't really matter length. Like, some people get
Mhm.
married within the year of
Yes.
starting a
Some people get married
relationship,
within like 3 months.
or a
Some people
day
get
of.
married way less. That's
Although a
day
day
of,
of might be
exactly. Some people
questioning.
see each other only after they're married.
That too. That
Shout out
too.
arranged marriages. I'm South Asian. That's a common thing. I don't like I'm not trying to pimp them out as amazing, but I'm also saying it works for some people.
Mhm.
Um
Mhm.
yeah.
and it doesn't work for some. So it's kind of like there's no recipe for.
Yeah, I feel like I've
Yeah.
opened a can of worms just by bringing it up. We probably do not have time to jump into some of the issues with arranged marriages. That is for if we ever end up reviewing episode by episode Indian matchmaking, Melina. I'll leave that on the table.
Oh. I think I
But
watched all the episodes except the last one. I
oh, you
think.
haven't seen the oh okay. That's a special bonus. If we hit some arbitrary limit that I haven't set yet, let's say like if we get 50K listeners, okay? Actually listening to the podcast, individual listeners, then we will watch the last episode of Indian Matchmaking together and we'll live it. I don't think it's gonna really happen, so I'm gonna set it. We'll live stream it, Melina and I together. We'll do a face reveal.
Oh my gosh! Although I already heard of some spoilers of what happened at the end, like afterwards. So
Oh, Melina, ruining it with spoilers.
people were telling me it. I didn't.
It was hot. Like it was a hot button like show when it came out. Plus, it was the pandemic. So. Yeah, no, I think that, yeah. Do you think they should have gotten married, Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter? Turning it back on you.
I think it was fast. I think everything was just pushed forward because of the things that were happening around it. In
Yes.
terms of like
by things, do you mean Bojack, or do you also mean like they were in a bank robbery? Or what are the things?
Bojack, mainly Bojack. But in terms of like as people, I think they suited each other.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't one. I didn't really see huge red flags. Like one wasn't say a murderer.
Yeah.
No. I didn't see any huge.
Melina,
red flags.
I love how you bring up murderer as your hard line so often. How often has that shown up as an issue in your life? I'm just curious. Does this happen often? How often are you meeting murderers?
I mean, they probably wouldn't tell me if they were one, or I'd be dead by now.
Do you just assume every person's a murderer? Actually, maybe it's not a bad assumption. Actually, it's probably a bad assumption to make. I feel like you never trust anyone.
Yeah, I think that might cause a person a lot of like they'll never leave their home.
Yeah, that's how you become agoraphobic, right?
Oh, no.
Sorry. It's a serious issue, but yeah, don't assume everybody you meet is a serial killer.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can like be careful of people you meet, but
yeah. I also automatically assume murderer is serial killer. I guess not all murderers are serial killers, but
I guess
I'm more scared of serial killers.
Yeah,
because they'll do it again. That's terrifying,
and
right?
Again. And they probably have accomplices.
And they probably have a technique.
They have a what's that word called? Modus operandi? Is that it? The one where
yeah,
they like,
MO, yeah. They have a modus operandi, but they also have like a methodology, I'm assuming, to clean up after, and that scares me, you know? Well, we're getting into the weirdest part. This is not a crime podcast, but we talk about crime a lot. More so than I realized we would. Why don't we talk about Sorry. Why don't we talk about Bojack? Bojack's conversation with Vincent at the end of the wedding.
Yes. With Vincent. We'll have to talk more about Vincent later if we learn more about him, which I assume we will, but you're not going to tell me.
I'm not going to tell you. But what did you think about Vincent, just before we move on from this point? Initial thoughts on Vincent?
He's 3 children stacked on top of each other.
So you're convinced? But he's such a good listener, Melina. He's Vincent Adult Man.
Maybe that's what all children say.
I feel like if I was a child, I would have come up with a better last name than Adult Man. But maybe I wouldn't be like the one whose face would be up there, and that's the one who's really getting to talk, you know?
Maybe he was just like, he's just like, oh my gosh, I had to figure out something so I don't get caught. How can I convince an adult that I'm an adult? Maybe if my name has adult in it, that everyone will believe me.
Oh man, I feel like they could have gone with Peterson or I don't know. That's just Jacobson or O'Neill. I don't know. I'm just coming up with other names I know off the top of my head, or like any last name really. I know. To be honest, it is very hard to think of a last name off the top of your head.
But in terms of their conversation at the end,
yes,
it seems like Bojack finally having Todd stand up to him.
Yes.
After Princess Carolyn being happy because she found someone else to be with.
I'm so sad though that I'm really happy Princess Carolyn didn't go back to Bojack and she's found someone, but come on, Vincent, Princess Carolyn can do so much better than 3 children stacked on top of each other in a trench coat. Princess Carolyn is the bomb. I was mildly insulted, but I'm glad she's back with Bojack. Go on.
I think right now she's just in a phase where she's just like, anyone who's like decent will do, but she probably will eventually like come back to her senses. and be like,
so your prediction is she will not stay with Vincent, right?
yeah, I don't think she'll stay with him, but
Yeah.
with them, I guess, because there's three of them. But she might be like, you three can like work for me, because I need like kid agents or something.
So you think they won't stay together, but she'll hire the children?
Yes.
Just noting these predictions, listeners, for later when Melina is correct or not correct. Who knows? So Vincent is actually shockingly a good listener because he doesn't say much.
Yeah, but so Bojack, he was saying finally, I don't remember everything he said, but the one thing that really stood out was that how like he always like thought he had a chance with Princess Carolyn, and I guess to a same degree, it kind of seemed like he always thought he had a chance with Diane because they were both so available to him until now that they're not.
I see. I don't think it's that he thought he had a chance with Princess Carolyn as
Mhm.
much as he always thought Princess Carolyn was like his backup in his mind. Like he'll just go
Mm.
back to Princess Carolyn. And I think he sees her not as a backup as a relationship, but also someone he can always just like use for this sort of emotional, he's not alone. And I don't think Princess Carolyn being in a relationship is what's wrong. It's him realizing that the people he and as you mentioned, Diane is also someone he could have gone back to, someone he was kind of vulnerable with, and now Diane's moved on, like in some
Mhm.
sense, by marrying Mr. Peanut Butter. Like these people in his life don't have to stay around. Like he forced Todd to stay in his life by making that rock opera fail, right?
Yeah, maybe that's why he was trying to sabotage the wedding and was trying to get Princess Caroline to be with him at all times so he could have them depend on him. But now they're not anymore.
Exactly. Plus the book is wrapping up, so he won't even get to see Diane like, in that way in his life, right?
Oh.
Like she's not going to be showing up anymore.
Yeah, because she did say like she thinks she can write it now without him, without any more interviews with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's gotten the data.
Okay. Well, we'll see if he's gonna have some growth now.
Ooh.
Oh. Or he might not. He might just keep on sabotaging everyone trying to.
In this conversation he had with Vincent, the thing that stood out to me was actually a little bit less about Princess Carolyn being available and like Diane, but more about Bojack talks about how he feels like he has a leak,
Okay.
right? That's the part that actually stood out to me a lot. Like he has a leak and all the goodness inside of him is leaking out of that. And I think
Mm.
that that was really profound to me in some ways. Not profound, but it kind of spoke to me in the sense where I think that's why Bojack doesn't seem to be able to grow, right? Is he thinks
Mm.
he's already lost all of his good. Like in that metaphor, he's
Oh.
describing that the goodness is gone, right? And when you see it leaking
Mhm.
out of you, there's no way for you to in this model that he's built, he can't get that back. He's lost it. And I
Mhm.
think for him to be able to grow, he has to realize that he hasn't lost it. He sort of just lost his connection to it, and he hasn't given himself the chance to sort of forgive himself. Similar with Herb in the last episode,
Mhm.
he hasn't actually forgiven himself first and done the
Mhm.
work himself to rebuild that goodness. And so he's just sort of given up on that because in his model, he sees himself as he's lost it all. And he's trying to hold
Mhm.
on to the other people so he doesn't have to like deal with or reckon with his own sadness, is what I felt like. When he said that line, I was just
Mm.
so sad for him. I was like, okay, I understand why he's like, I understand it. I still don't condone Bojack's behavior, but that
Mhm.
definitely to me, I was like, you got to understand, man, you can recover from this. You can also not only just recover from Diane, but just you can rebuild that goodness, right? And I think in so many ways people forget that you can always rehabilitate, you can always grow, and we can always try to become a better person. We can always pick ourselves back up and grow on that path. But this
Mhm.
mentality that once you've done something bad, you cannot recover, I think it's harmful as a society to tell people that
Mhm.
because we sort of put people in a fixed box, and that's not true. At least that's my opinion. I think people can grow and change, and
Mm.
they can work towards that as kind of like a skill and growing that goodness. And
Mm.
when we tell people that you're either good and bad and you drain that out of you, that's a really like black and white way of looking at the world, and it makes me a little bit sad because I feel like if Bojack was able to grow that goodness, I think not only he would benefit, but also Todd, 100% Todd would benefit. But all the people around him and in his life, 100% also Princess Carolyn. That girl deserves better, always.
Hmm. Now that you are bringing it up again, I do remember that. I feel like this whole not this whole, but there in this season he was trying to be good or to be better, like throughout the whole season. Like when he was originally supporting Todd with his rock opera before he sabotaged him, or when he was being supportive to Diane when her family was having their issues.
True.
But afterwards, like, there are other actions, like whether because of his fear or like other things that just kind of counter his quote unquote good actions. So I feel like a part of it is also I think he might also be afraid of like trying again, because it's kind of like, oh, I try to be good many times, but this like I still can't attain it, as we can see. Like, I'm back to where I am, square one at the beginning.
But I think because he believes he's leaking out that goodness, he doubts himself anytime he's doing a good thing. That's why he sabotages them, right? Like, I feel like with Todd, he sabotaged himself, right? Because he was afraid that Todd was going to leave, and so he sabotaged him, and he knew he was doing something wrong. Like, he didn't really feel remorse. With Diane, and sort of like him wanting to inject himself into that relationship, like getting the Hollywood D sign and all that stuff, is he was doing something good, and then he sort of turned that and sabotaged it again. Like, I feel like because he doesn't believe he can keep that goodness, he sort of does that to himself. I don't know. This is a theory. Obviously, this is the armchair psychologist. Did I get it right, Melina?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we don't have evidence.
I think you're right, though, that he definitely needs to work on himself. And I think that part of the reason why he might think so like poorly of himself again is comes back to his childhood. He was treated very badly by his parents. I do want to know if they will go. Well, you won't tell me, but I do hope that they will go more into his childhood.
Yeah.
Because I do want to see more about like how he became, like what had happened and how he became the person he was now. Like, I know we did see like a few interactions with him and Herb, but it's like there's still a lot more.
You want to see younger?
Yes, I want to see younger horsemen.
You want to see an adorable little baby horse?
I don't know if he'll be adorable, but
I did like when Vincent said "good horsey." That was a classic. He like pet him with the broom and was like, "Good horsey." Melina, speaking of our conversation between Bojack and Vincent, do you think Bojack is good? We were talking about goodness.
I think that the fact that he can recognize things that he's not great right now is a positive step. Like, some people don't even realize, like, they could continue making excuses or blaming other people and saying like it's everyone else's fault and not see themselves as the issue. So I think the fact that he can even see that there is something that he may need to change, I think there are some steps, some positive potential growth.
Okay, that's good. My next question is, what do you think will happen next episode? We've got Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter getting married. What do you think will happen next?
We still need to see Todd's confrontation with Bojack about the sabotage.
Didn't he bring it up this episode?
He brought it up, but then Bojack was like, "Oh, I forgot I had jury duty, bye." So they didn't actually get to talk about it, I think.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that should happen sometime in the next episode or next few at least. Because right now I can't see, especially since Todd got a new job due, I can't see him living with Bojack anymore. Okay. Well, for now at least. Like, he's busy running his like executive whatever with Mr. Peanut Butter.
Yeah. Now Mr. Peanut Butter has Diane and Todd.
Yeah. And then Mr. Peanut Butter might be like, I need a place for like, oh, you're looking for a place to stay, Todd? Here, come stay at my place, and here, can you also like clean up my house and stuff? I don't know. Yeah. I guess it's hard to say where things can go from here. There's a lot of different branches they could go from.
Melina, I'm curious what will happen next episode because I don't remember what would actually happen next episode, which is why I was asking you. I have a few theories. There's a few interesting plot points that need to happen for this season. And I'm really excited what you will think once they come out.
There's only 3 episodes left. What are they gonna do?
Chaos. Chaos.
Oh no! It's gonna end on a cliffhanger. I do not like shows that end on cliffhangers.
It's okay. We can just start watching the next season. It's fine. Don't worry. And then the middle, we can do a special about Indian matchmaking. Let's hit those 50K listeners. But instead, let's tune in next time to find out what happens in episode 10. Right, Melina?
Yeah, stay tuned, everyone.
Bye!
Bye!
Yakkin About Bojack is produced, recorded, and edited by Melina and Aditi. Music is by Podcast Co.'s royalty-free album Keep Calm and Podcast, the song One Fine Day. All thoughts in this podcast are personal opinions. If you or someone you know is experiencing issues with addiction, substance abuse, or any of the topics mentioned in this episode, please know there is hope and seek professional help.